All right, guys, we've got Sarah Logue on the phone right now. We are getting rolling because I've got your ears for less than an hour, and she's got a lot to share, and she's also incredibly busy, and she's one of my favorite freaking rock stars, and people have literally Jones to hear this, so I appreciate that. If you do have to jump off the call, you probably won't get back in. We're at capacity for our lines in about 2 minutes here. We should be shutting them down, so hopefully you'll get your butts in here, and if you don't, well, that's okay too because we're going to record it. We like to do these this format because we roll them into some really cool stuff afterwards, and it's too distracting on Zoom, considering that there's always faces, and those backgrounds are driving me bananas on Zoom. So we're actually keeping it this way, and I think it's a lot better. And I have not had good hair in 9 weeks, so we are. So there's a little bit of vanity. Sarah, I would like you to introduce yourself. Okay, the best thing you can do is tell us a little bit about the size of your team, the area that you are trading in, and let's just talk a little bit about your goals for the year. So tell us a little bit about you and what you're building and what you've got on deck right now.
Well, you've said my name, Sarah Logue, and I have the privilege of running a nice, tight team with my husband, Chris. We have Kristen, Scarlett, Alex, Josh as our licensed agents running around, and we have 3 fabulous admin, Joni, Verge, and Leanne's our full-time stager. So we all carry a lot of weight, and we all wear a lot of hats, but we run a really tight family team, and it makes for a great experience for our clients because we're all so close.
Unbelievable. And the market area that your team trades in?
We're primarily Halton, so Burlington, Oakville, Milton, Waterdown, Hamilton. Most of us trade majority of our business probably right in Burlington.
That's where my cousin lives, and I'll be honest with you, it's like, it was so funny because I had said that I had met Sarah, and I was like, I love working with Sarah. She's just awesome. And my cousin's like, yep, we all know her. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, he's like, you're so branded there. It is so awesome. It's amazing what you've done with your business, like really amazing. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty of the questions. Everybody knows that I go right for the jugular for, questions, and we like absolute transparency too, which is awesome, which is what I love about Sarah. So tell us a little bit about, actually before we get started, tell everybody what your actual goals are for production for 2020.
Our goals didn't change for 2020. I mean, we paused for March and April, and we redirected our attentions and sort of our direction for those 2 months. But my team is like constantly just repeating back to me, we have to do 3 months in a month. We have to do 3 months in a month, and they've done it. So we're right on target for our goals, and it's a good position to be in, but it forced us all to see that we could do a lot more than we were doing in 2019.
And what did you do in 2019?
What did we do?
Yeah. Approximately. Ballpark it.
Ballpark it. We did just over $2 million.
Hey, you don't have to worry about saying that. Come on, we had Peggy on the call a few weeks ago.
No, I think people are always, they always want to guess what you're doing. Our goal for this year is definitely to be at $3 million, and that's what we're on track to do.
100%, which by the way is amazing, and that's not $3 million worth of volume, guys, because that wouldn't be super impressive. It's $3 million.
No, I don't think in volume.
Can you imagine? Way to go, Sarah. Aim high, aim high. But anyway, $3 million, and she's on track to do it, which is super awesome. So let's dive a little into, so we're going to cover some of the most important questions that came in. The first question that came in a lot is people are always wondering, teams the size of yours, your thoughts about the beginning of COVID versus where we are currently. So kind of like, versus the first initial holy shit moment to where we are today. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the holy shit was holy shit for the planet, right? So definitely we all turtled, and I stepped up to tell my team, and they're amazing at this, that we've always been really good relationship people. And like your cousin said, we know her. I don't think it's because people just know our signs. They know us at the hockey rink, the lacrosse field, the gymnastics mat, you name it. We're there. So we just went into, what do we always do for our clients? We overservice them, right? So any information we could provide, whether it was COVID or who was, shipping the best grocery product or whatever, whatever somebody needed, we were just on the phone with them. And the one thing we were all talking just last Friday, I couldn't believe how long my calls got because people were needy and needed to hear someone else's voice at the beginning. All of my phone calls went from being like my normal tolerance on a call is about 2 minutes. And all my calls were running over 22 minutes. And that was because we were just in all these relationship calls constantly just trying to keep our people afloat. So if you did a normal transaction for a listing would be like, hey, nice to talk to you, going to be at your house, great, list the house, move forward. But all of our listings that were coming up for March and April, what we ended up doing is having to talk to them 10 to 15 times versus 1 to 2 times. So the flip
100%.
switch was as soon as people's fear level dropped off and, end of April started to get people in frustration, we were ready to pounce. And that's a horrible word, but we were already so deep entrenched in these relationships with our clients that it was like, okay, great, we're ready to go. So the flip
100%.
for COVID was flow and fear to, oh my God, I am done with this. Let's go.
Totally. And I think that's kind of how it is now too, is like really the crazy thing is this, guys, is like we're in that position right now with COVID. It was funny because we got so much pushback, and I'm kind of that same thing is like, how do you feel? And I know this isn't one of the questions, it's kind of just, relates to it a bit. We're finding such a huge divide, even still, amongst the real estate agents who are saying, drive hard, go hard, push forward. And you kind of cut yourself for a second there too. It's like, okay, jump in, dive in, like kind of that animal instinct that rainmakers have. We have this like make it rain. And Peggy Hill was talking about it a few weeks ago. We're rainmakers, man. Like jump in, like that's our job. So telling us to kind of like sit back and watch a pandemic happen is so against the natural. But then when you're in a sea full of, other realtors who may feel like, oh, wait a second, like what are you doing? Did you ever struggle with that versus then versus now to the acceptability of being a rainmaker, essentially?
Oh, no, you do, because I mean, I've been talking to agents even just this week that are saying, Sarah, you have so many signs out. How are you doing that? Like, I'm just coming out of my house for the first time. And I'm saying, well, okay, good for you. If that's your fear level, or if you're not sure how to practice this game safely, I appreciate that. But I couldn't sit back and wait to sort of say to our clients, oh, we're just going to keep sitting and waiting when we had real life moves happening. And I think that was part of it too, right? We have must-haves through COVID. There was people that needed help that had to make a transition. And now that switch is flipped over to not just the must-haves to the want-haves, right? Like if this is going to happen again, Sarah, I want to be in my dream house. I don't want to be trapped in this house anymore. So getting agents on board to see that they have to be the front runners to show the public that this is how we're practicing safely, and things are still moving. We're the ones that people see. So you've got to sort of show that off.
Exactly. And by showing it off, what people, like we've said this since day one, is consumer confidence drives the market. It always does. The world could, I've coached in 2008 and 2009 in the United States, and, what we saw a lot of things happening there, definitely a different scenario. This is more of a pause than anything else. But one of the things that, in a big pause, I shouldn't understate it. However, one of the things is that if we all panicked, and I tried to explain this to somebody actually at the very beginning, and I said, if we all go into turtle mode, we are so hurting, like the consumer perception. The consumers need to see some positive rays in order for them to feel like they can actually do something. Uncertainty always freezes things. So if you have uncertain messages, or if your messages are, they disappear and there is no messages, that also creates uncertainty. So having positive messages about people selling or market stats causes consumers to pay attention that we're not letting the media dictate the consumer outcome this time. We can't let the media dictate the outcome. If we do, we are screwed. I mean, the media is always doom and gloom, and that will hurt consumer confidence, which, by the way, in my market, we went from 40 offers to properties to about 5 offers per properties now. And now we're back up, after 9 weeks, we're back up to about 12 offers per property. So, you know what I mean?
You have to prove it. I mean, I see all these great posts from agents. Here's the numbers, but the consumer is such a tactile person, especially when it comes to residential real estate, that the better thing you can do is price a house perfectly and put a sold sign on it. I'm getting more calls off sold signs than I ever have because people are saying, Sarah, how are you selling a house right now? How did that sell? And not just from the general public, but from agents. But it forces people to see that, yes, this is happening. Show them that, yes, the market is moving, and it's moving very quickly.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It really is. And that's because finally, like, we all have to remember is that consumer confidence. So your messages, those people, like I always send a private message to agents now, and whether I coach them or don't coach them, if I see something very doom and gloom that they've posted, like, there was something on Facebook this past week, somebody was posting and it started going viral that Leon's Furniture was going out of, that they're laying everybody off. And I said, guys, that article was posted 5 days after, and it was posted in March. It was 5 days after the announcement of the shutdowns. And I said, I just don't think that that's the right message you need to be sharing with consumers today. I'm like, you should be sharing different messages. And I'm like, that's not what I would share. There's enough bad shit happening, and there's, information is faster than ever, and you should stick to the good stuff. Like, there are a lot of positive things, right? Like in your market, what's something really positive that's happening in your market?
Well, we're just seeing that basically so many of the companies that we have the privilege of working with, their employees and their, owners, they're adapting. I mean, incredibly quickly. And it's amazing when, such a challenge is put front of a sort of a D or a rainmaker, as you call them, how quickly they adapt. And we've got more and more people saying to us, we've got to work from home. Sarah, what do you think the best setup is? We want to have close proximity for small team meetings. I've had a few business owners even reach out to me and say, is there small spaces that we can rent, moving forward so we don't have to have our big office spaces or part-time rental spaces? So it's interesting to see how businesses are redeveloping themselves and how important, for our clientele, asking for workspaces at home.
Isn't it great? And it's like we were talking about that at the beginning of the pandemic, and I said, guys, take a look at the writing on the wall. There's not going to be a vaccine for a while, so the whole work from home is just, I don't know. Okay, so like here's my thoughts on this. Like, do you think, before I answer it, like what do you think? Do you think work from home is here to stay? Do you think that that's something that's like, it's going to be work from home, it's here to stay? Or do you think that this is something that as soon as they're allowed to go back, people are going to be jonesing to go back?
No, I think, maybe people who are in affairs at work were jonesing to get back. That could be one poll, but I see them hiding out at night in different little pockets, but
yeah, so you heard it here first. If you're having an affair, you will not like to work from home. I love that. That's what they're going to take away from this.
I know. No, people are working from home. And I used to do commercial real estate in the States, and I can't tell you how many of my really, really old clients have reached out and said, Sarah, what is it going to cost me to get out of this commercial lease? Can you look at my lease? So you can see that pattern, regardless if there's a miracle drug and we're all healthy tomorrow, it's opened business owners' eyes up to what is my biggest cost day to day? It's this freaking downtown lease that's killing me as my overhead cost. If I can cut this down by 70%, I'm golden, right? And then that also allows them to keep more people employed. So I think the issue is people have to look at, yes, you're going to see this switch in unemployment rate, but if more people can work from home, companies can hire more people, right? Because the cost of those people isn't just their salary, it's the, real estate they're standing them in. So people enjoy working from home if children are at school. If children aren't at school, it could be a different case. But I do find more and more people have set up, and I see them, these fabulous home offices, and businesses are taking advantage of using almost COVID as an excuse. And I've heard, I'm restating what my business owners are telling me to revamp their companies and go, we've been running the same line over and over again. We're done. We're making changes. And if we can get our top teams working from home, we're set. So yeah, 100%. I think people are going to stay home. Yeah,
I think so too. What about your team? Are you going to encourage them to stay working from home or no?
Well, the beauty of our team with, so limited admin and so many more agents, most of our agents do work from home. So that hasn't changed. And we're also good at, communicating via phone or via my front porch. it works out. I have put our admin back in the office just because it saves me telling them stuff twice or three times. I like to be able to just yell at them all in the same room.
And she does. She yells. It's crazy.
That's my own control problem, right? Most people don't need that, I don't think, but
nah.
I like
She's not that bad. So that is so. Yeah, and you're 100% right. It's like, so you've got your team, your administration team is back, which is kind of like, guys, think about it. Like it's pretty, how I see things is very much positive. I always look at things and I go, you know what? You can look at them in doom and gloom, or you can look at positive. I think this is positive. We're on week 10 and of a global pandemic, like a global pandemic. Week 10, and your office has already started integrating, allowing people back into it, like as far as the administration staff goes. So I think that's actually super, super impressive. That's great, So I don't look at that and go, oh my God, it's terrible. I look and go, man, it's week 10. That was a pretty fast adaptation from your office standpoint to get people back in. Bravo. I think that's great.
It was totally impressive. And I mean, my kids and I were sitting around last night saying the goods and bads of COVID. And I said to my kids, hey, you've seen me more this year than you've seen me in 10 years. And I honestly can't complain because it's not like I'm not still running the deals that I need to run. I've just really cleaned it up. There's no more hesitation in the calls. There's no more lacking in the calls. There's no more waiting for someone to call me back. I had all day off yesterday. It was Sunday. My kids were like, it's Sunday. How are you home all day? I was like, I don't know. This COVID's working for me. Like, this is amazing. I do all my work in 5 days and boom, I'm off. So
I know
it's bizarre, but it's forced a lot of agents to look at how did they lead generate, and for me it was the passive aggressive. Oh, I'm staying in open house. Yeah, you like me, great. Okay, we'll sell your house, no problem. Now it's going back through our relationships and just collecting the scoops of people off those relationships Monday to Friday. I love it.
Okay, I'm so with what Sarah just said is golden, guys. So we're seeing it. Like I was just wrapping up a bunch of calls this morning. I was saying the same thing. I was going, look, I don't know about anybody else, but this is the first time ever that I'm sort of turning around and I'm going, listen, man, it's like take Saturdays and take 2 days off, like for the first time. Like if you ever want to reset, as the realtors who are listening to this call, you've heard me talk about it before. The person who invented Sunday 2 to 4 open houses, we need to find that person. It's going to require work, but we need to find out who that was that started Sunday 2 to 4 open houses, because that is the most ridiculous thing. Think of the happiness. Yeah, it is horrible. It is. I've been saying it for years, and this is like a reset button. I'm like, look, we can change open houses. The consumers we're valuing family life more. We're valuing time off. And we're the hardest working, in my opinion, realtors are the hardest working entrepreneurs in the world. There's 7 days a week, all hours of the day, all hours of the nighttime, and we're victims of following some arbitrary, habit of Sundays 2 to 4 having open houses. This is the time we should change the game. If you like having your time off and you work your ass off Monday to Friday, then guess what? Have your open houses, on a Thursday from let's change it so it's 6 to 8 or whatever, or 5:30 to 7:30, and then enjoy your weekends. What is this shit of doing 2 to 4 open houses on a Sunday and then tying your whole Sunday night up? Now you can't go to the cottages. Now you can't take time off. In the winter, it's dreadfully awful to be there on 2 to 4 on a Sunday. There's just so many things about a Sunday afternoon. I'm convinced that the person, if we did research, we'd find out that somebody just really enjoyed partying on a Saturday night and just wanted to sleep in on a Sunday. That's my theory.
It's a good theory. And if you look at Sunday 2 to 4 as the pinnacle of the classic old age, I don't want to say old age, but the classic history of real estate, right? Like when I came in, it was like, oh, you got to have this, you got to send out a recipe card and you got to do an open house. And I'm like, why do we do this to sell houses? I don't get it. And when it hit me during COVID that I'm like, I'm not doing all those normal, like I'm doing quotations with my fingers, real estate practices anymore. I've dug deeper into what I do well, and I'm walking directly opposite of what we would call normal practices, right? I don't need to socialize with 20 people on a Sunday afternoon that just want to come tell me they painted their laundry room green. Now, I don't need to poo-poo open houses. I love them. But this break with COVID, if it doesn't force you to look at, hey, what do I do really, really well as an agent, and I should be exploiting that, then you're missing the point of what COVID did for all of us, right? It bounced us hard to go in a different direction. Where was your strength? You don't need to follow the normal recipe card, open house, postcard. Like, it doesn't need to be that TikTok.
Nope.
It doesn't.
You nailed it, right? It's like, yeah. And so if those of you on this call, you're going, man, I just like really like having my Saturdays or my Sundays free. Like, I'm hearing that across the board. By the way, that's why I'm harping on it. We have over 740 clients, and I don't think there's not one that I've heard from that we've talked to about this. I've said, they've all said the same thing. They're like, Marianne, I'm spending my Sundays with my family. I'm enjoying myself. And I'm from Quebec, so a lot of, we were the last ones to open up in Quebec, like Sundays, meaning when, if people remember, I mean, unless you're 5 years old, you probably wouldn't remember. But I think it was like, 15, 20 years ago, there was no stores open on Sundays. And then there was no stores open. It started slowly. There was no stores ever open on Sundays. And so we had Sundays off technically. Then all of a sudden they said, okay, we're going to open stores at 12 o'clock and they're going to be open only for 4 or 5 hours on Sundays. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we're open at 9 o'clock. Now realtors have to work 24/7. Look, the amount of realtors that we coach, every one of them is coming back saying, I'm finally enjoying my Sundays because I'm doing those virtual open houses. That was the gift that Sarah talks about in COVID, is like, there's your gift. People will still produce business for you. You will still be able to sell the houses. There are different ways to do it. So this is the time for all the powerhouses in real estate to get together and say, let's change the game, man. It's time to change the game. I mean, as simple as that. I mean, if Justin Trudeau can make pot legalized, we sure as hell can change open houses on a Sunday 2 to 4. Like, come on. Really?
We can do it. We can do it. And no one's at sports anymore, so you can do them whenever. It's not like everyone's at hockey on Thursday night. So,
see, there's the point. There's the point. I love it. Okay, so you mentioned that you didn't change your goals for the year, okay, which I totally freaking love, by the way. So everybody on this call, you've heard us interview the best in the breed, and to be honest with you, none of them have come back saying they changed their goals. So while we drop a little bit of a, let's look at your listings. Okay, we're just going to sort of talk about that. Spring listings. Our spring is now with your team. So how many listings are you thinking that you're going to be putting up? I just want you to inspire the group a little bit here. This will be a moment.
Our goal for May is 25. I think by Wednesday we're at 22. So there's 2 that I'm bumping out of June that are going to land into this Friday to make sure we hit that 25 because I promised the team. And I mean, when you're looking at that, it already is behind me, right? So it's like, okay, you did the 25 for May. Now, guys, how many do we have lined up for June? And that's how you get to that goal, right? And if I had an agent say to me 10 years ago, she's like, how do you just say you're going to list 10 homes and then go get 10 listings? I'm like, well, if I've told myself that's the number we need, then everything else below it is just failure. So pick up the phone, find the listing. You've all talked to 25 people, I'm sure, during COVID, even if it's just the Purelator man whose house I'm listing next week. Like there's always someone to talk to that can broaden your network, right? But our team just, I gave them all the calls they had to make sure we hit the 25, and they made the calls. Even if the calls came back to me and not them, they made the calls and got the conversation started. Plus it was, you have a huge backlog of March and April of people that were scared, right, or nervous, or didn't want to put their house on the market. So it didn't seem like that difficult a step to say to people, okay, we didn't list in half of March and April, so everybody was going to list in March and April is now listed in May.
Right.
That's all you had to do.
That's all you had to do. Well, your clients are coming to you. So here's my expertise question for you. All those clients, and by the way, guys, you did hear one thing that Sarah said, and she says it very matter-of-fact, nonchalant, as we call it, very nonchalant. So I want to just draw attention to that because you may have heard it. You may not have heard what she said, but she said it so beautifully that you almost didn't hear it. She said, our goal is 25. We've got 2 remaining, so I'm going to make sure I hit that on Friday. Like, think about that. That was so, like, it just rolled off of her tongue. Like, it was just not even a question. It wasn't a matter of, we're going to be too shy. Sarah's got a week left. There's no bullshit. She's hitting that goal. Like, it's not, it wasn't optional. So that's a mindset. So you bring a really, really awesome mindset to the table, which I think is like super impressive. So I just want to say congratulations to that. So those of you who missed that, there is no negotiating. There's a week left of May. When you look at where you need to be, that's what a rainmaker does. They look at where they need to be for the goals, and they're like, look, it's going to happen. There's no such thing as, we're going to be too shy. It's about, I'm going to move 2 from June. I'm going to move them up. We're going to hit our target because that's what I told my team. That's what a rainmaker's mindset is, which is why rainmakers get to where they need to get to. There is no missing a goal. I'm the exact same way. I'm like, if you know it, whatever it is.
It's not a question, right? And that's why when people say, well, did you readjust? And I was talking to a few other brokers across the country last week, and they're like, well, did you readjust your numbers? And I'm like, for what? I could have broken my leg and been out of work for 6 weeks. I could have had a baby. I've done that 3 times. Like, you can't, life is always going to hit you with something. Always, right? Yeah, COVID's a big hit.
I could have had a baby. I had 3 of them. Thanks, next.
That was my only year in real estate. I was pissed off because when I had my third, I only moved up by like 1% in production. And I was like, how come by the time I had the third, I couldn't double my production? I was quite annoyed. Anyway, I'm saying we can all have an excuse in front of us, right? Whether the market's bad or you can't do open houses or your car broke down or, and they're real life horrible things. You could say my mother's got cancer. There's horrible, horrible things that happen to people every day. But in real estate, you always have to be the leader, right? Because the public see you as a leader. So if you're constantly saying, well, I'm worried about this and I'm worried about that and I can't do this and I can't do that, well, then you're never going to hit the goals that you want to hit, and you're never going to show the people around you that you're persevering through whatever those challenges are.
Exactly. And that, guys, is a definition of a true rainmaker. That's a true rainmaker's attitude, is that, you know what, it is very tough and nobody wants to negate that. Is like, we're really looking around us and we're going, man, things are not easy. I mean, I say the same thing on our end. I'm like, man, it has not been easy for we're on week 10. And I'm like, I took my first day off on holiday Monday, and I was like, man, I was looking around, and I went, whew, okay. But I also get very excited. Like, these are times where it's kind of like we have superpowers. When we were interviewing Peggy a few weeks ago, you can hear it. Every rainmaker we've ever interviewed, it's the same message over, just packaged slightly different, where it's like, look, you guys Jones on this stuff. This is what you're wired for. You look at it, and this also, guys, I always say this, welcome to the club. Because this is your chance. You want to be with the rainmakers. You want to be in the top 10, top 20%. This is the moment where almost every rainmaker has had at some point in their life some adversity, something that they had to dig deeper down inside to see that they had that skill in them to go to that next friggin' level. This is that moment where all of you guys who aren't rainmakers yet, you're not at that level yet, but this is that moment where you can really look and say, okay, I'm in the same situation as Sarah Logue right now, and can I match her mentality, her mad mental strength to get through this? Because this is how a lot of great leaders are developed. They go through adversity, they go through challenges, they go through big moments where it's way easier to quit, it's way easier to turn around, it's way easier to ignore the numbers or change your goals. If you really want to know what it takes to be a rainmaker and you've always believed that you can be one, this is that moment where you got to listen really carefully to people like Sarah and just go, do I bring that same attitude? So I freaking love that. That is just totally awesome. So what are you telling your clients who are concerned whether they should list their house or not right now? What's your advice to them?
I give them the normal COVID speech, which is how we're practicing safely. And then I simply show them the numbers around them and how much Burlington is in a growth cycle and how low our inventory is and how many people we have lined up to buy their houses. Now, we've been in a fortunate position because I was able to take sort of 3 months inventory and jam it into one. I get to create these fabulous little pockets or riffs that I call them, where I go, okay, we're going to list from $1 million to $1.5 million in this strip and move buyers through those houses together. So, we thought we were only going to spend $1 million, but we're going to spend $1.25 million. So we share with our sellers, if you want to get in, right now is the time. Our spring market lost 2 months. We have about 2 months to recreate 5 months. The buyers are lining up. Let us put you into one of these little riffs so we can jam as many people through your house in a very short time, which will obviously allow you to get top dollar for it. I hate the term top dollar, but allow you to get great money for your house. And sellers' fear is gone so quickly because I'm sitting there with the numbers in front of them, showing them the stats, saying, look, we're turning houses in less than a week. And here was the average at this time last year. Here's the average at this time this year. And they're going, well, why wouldn't I sell? And I'm saying, great. Yeah, July and August are still going to hit, and we're still going to hit a normal summer market. So use the rest of May and June to hustle and get your house sold and be done and enjoy your summer and be in your new space by September.
Nice.
And they're on board. They're totally on board.
Totally. And the thing is guys, we can't predict the future. So you just can't.
No.
So that's why I'm so aggressive with saying we should be posting positive, reassuring news about what's happening today. You know what? As long as people aren't overextending themselves financially on houses that are just not realistic. Like if you're sitting there and you're a first-time home buyer and you're jumping into, your first home is like taxes you've never paid before, utilities you've never paid before. You do have to marginalize what the banks are willing to give. But the banks have been so tight with what they're giving that I don't feel like we're at a major risk anyway. So I'm feeling like it's pretty decent. So let me ask you a question. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, plus COVID it's like people who have survived cancer or who've survived a horrible car accident for a lot of people, right? Because it was such a scary event. I found anyone who's been fence sitting with us for the last 2 to 3 years has gone, you know what, Sarah? I want to move to the cottage property. I want to buy my Florida property and my cottage property. So all those fence sitters that have needed a push, you can really knock them off the fence right now. So, I mean, we did a stream of about 17 houses, and they're all selling in Burlington, but they're all buying well outside of Halton because they're finally going, I want my dream life. I don't want to hesitate on my dream life. Life is too short. I want to make my move and have my best life. So I think that's the other flip side of people not just moving up wanting their big dream house. It's the downsizers going, hey, I don't know the future. Like you said, I don't know where the economy's going, but I'm not going to sit on this any longer and wait to decide. This has told me I need to make my decision.
I'm going to say that is amazing advice. Some of our clients that we have in New York, they're seeing the same thing. So there's going to be a mass exodus. We're already seeing it happen in New York because people fled New York and they went to the houses. They rented properties in the Hamptons. They went into some of the segue areas that you see in New York that people go to. And one of the things that happened is it happened in 9/11 in New York, but it's the same thing. Exactly what Sarah's talking about. When you go through a major life trauma, you start to really value. I mean, those of you who know me well know I've overcome cancer. My family died when I was young. I was homeless for a year. I do not, excuse my expression, I do not fuck around with life. Life to me every day is a gift. Every day is a gift. But what this also did is I was able to even look and go, same thing as Sarah's talking about. I had a wonderful discussion the other day where I was like, I was talking to my running buddies, and I was like, you know what? Why is it that, like, every time, like, I just want to live on the water. Like, I just want it. I want to live on the water. I want to, like, if I want to go fishing, I want to fish. If I want to jump in the water, I want to jump in the water. Like, I just love the water. And I'm like, Sarah's not lying. It's exactly what's going through my head. Is this the push that I need to get me, I do have a waterfront property, but I'm like, this is kind of, what about my dream home on the water? I'm like, this is amazing. So anyway, exactly what Sarah's talking about. We're seeing it in New York. We're seeing it in Toronto. We're seeing it in Boston. We're seeing it all over the place where we're seeing that push into better lifestyle living, and people finally saying, you know what, I was hit, but I wasn't hit that bad, and now I can get my dream place, and maybe it's time that I appreciate life a lot more. Friggin' love that. Man, I love that.
It's a good to follow.
Oh, it's just like super awesome. And so it's kind of like what Sarah said, have the conversations with people. Like, just start having that. There's nothing wrong with asking people and saying, hey, like, she referred to the Purelator guy. no word of a lie, I literally, when the Amazon people drop their stuff off at the door, I mean, these are real human beings. Just ask them, hey, by the way, I'm working from home, licensed realtor. Is there anything I can reciprocate and help you? You must be super busy. Have you thought at all about buying a beautiful property down the road? Because you're always at my house delivering shit, so why not? But anyway, but I mean, it's just a great conversation to have, reaching out to people. So I'm curious about this. I'm asking all the top producers, what do you think is the future of what's going to happen with realtors? Do you see a mass exodus? Do you see virtual teams dominating? Do you think offices are going to have to start doing crazy shit now for the agents that are just, virtual digital stuff? What do you think is on the horizon? And of course, we're not going to hold you accountable to it. I'm just curious your perspective.
You can always hold me accountable to it.
Okay, we will.
I think I was in an event maybe 4 years ago where they were talking about virtual teams. I was like, this is such crap. I don't get this. I don't see how this is going to work. And I was all the naysayer, right? And I thought about it just over the last 2 weeks because of what I just said about so many of my buys are not in my circle, right? So many of our listings are buying outside. I looked back and I was doing my Monday morning calls and I thought, this is bizarre. I've called 2 Huntsville agents, a Bracebridge agent, a Peterborough agent, 3 Toronto agents, and I thought, all these people are working for me and have been working for me for the last 2 weeks. Like, I am feeding their businesses. And the whole reason I'm feeding their businesses is because my clients are saying, okay, Sarah, but we want to know you know this person. So I can see how your team can very quickly become a virtual arm. I mean, we were just asked to list a property in Kingston. And I'm thinking, why would I list a property in Kingston? I'm thinking, this is odd, but I can use the Kingston agent for my groundwork knowing, great, I'm still going to negotiate the property. I'm still going to market the property. I can still show the property because people have become so accustomed with virtual showings and because we have the equipment to do it so well that the seller's like, no, I don't want to talk to anyone but you, Sarah. Give me someone that can be your hands locally. So my whole attitude, and I was like, oh, I'm never going to have a virtual team. And then I was laughing with my assistant this morning. I was like, I think I kind of have this virtual team thing down.
You got it nailed. You're going to be on the stage talking about it.
I was like, maybe I just need to switch their business card. She's like, well, I
That's it. You're like, it's going to be the Sarah Virtual Logue team. That's what it's going to be.
And that's the thing. Like, you realize when you're in so many incredible relationships and you've got so many fabulous clients that, are so trusting in you that you just want to create that experience for them wherever they're going. And I do. I don't want people to ever think, oh, well, that was a shitty agent or agents are so dumb and all the, horrible stereotypes we fight. Why can't I just prep other agents elsewhere the same way I prep my agents here? I don't need to just be in my backyard. I can pull up all the information like other people do in that area and then talk to the local experts and use them as a virtual assistant or a virtual agent. It's pretty cool what you can do when you're forced to sit at your desk.
Oh my gosh, it's the stuff that we're doing. I don't love it because I'm I love people, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, the virtual stuff that's out there is just, well, obviously we've been talking about it for 10 weeks. We know, it's so much easier to do business, and I'm looking at it going, this is easy. I mean, you have attention. Now then again, don't forget, 80% of stores are closed, and by the way, just big news in my city, we're opening Winners and Home Sense is open on Wednesday, so I get a little... I'm like, yes. I'm like, that's a win. But then I started looking, guys. I went out. I needed to get something. I was doing a project this weekend, and honestly, I was like, the patience of waiting in line for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that's never been my thing. So I don't even see this normal new way of living. I just won't wait 20, 30 minutes in line. So to be honest with you, it's going to be an interesting virtual transition, as I like to call it. So it's pretty friggin' cool what I'm seeing out there. Okay, so moving onwards and upwards, hiring. Okay, let's talk turkey. Are you hiring? If so, during this time, what are you hiring for? What's exciting on the team for hiring?
Well, we are hiring, and we've got 3 things we're hiring. We're aiming for. So I always feel like I need one more admin. I call it my young runner admin because I always need an extra runner. And my admin people are so entrenched and rooted into the office. That's why we keep them plugged in there. But based on the number of things we do for sellers, from the beginning of meeting them all the way to the close, and then anyways, there's a lot of little pieces in our plans that need constant execution. So we do want another great, personable admin. And then my big push right now is a sales manager. As I sit here and manage, agents like I'm talking about from Kingston to Bracebridge to Huntsville, all across Ontario, it would be great to have someone checking their numbers constantly, because I looked at my phone yesterday and it was like 3.5 hours were eaten up talking to my own agents. And when I see that, I go, that's 3.5 hours that I could have picked up another 5 listings. So it's not profitable for me to constantly, be on the phone with just agents. I love them. I love talking to them. But if I had a point of reference for them so they could check in and then I could call them, that would be amazing. And I think that will be, for lack of a better term, a sales manager.
Good plan.
The best name I can give them, right? An in-between point between me and my crew.
That's 2. So you said sales manager and an admin, sort of that entry-level admin. What's the third?
Third would just be a rock star agent, someone who's ready to hustle, right? And maybe that's not just one position, maybe that's 2 or 3, right? We've got enough listings that there's enough lead generation coming in off those listings, and enough leads that just don't always get the attention they should be getting because we're all so busy, right?
That's a really fair point. You're busy as anything. And and this isn't a time also, think of the accountability a team could give for lead generation too, because it's even harder now that people are working from home all the time with their families and with their kids. Can you imagine how much easier it would be, truth be told, to join a team and get accountability? Ugh.
Yep.
Way easier. Oh my God, that's so much easier. Another thing that I wanted to mention on this call, when Sarah was talking about hiring administratively, don't forget there's a hidden opportunity that I think a lot of team owners have missed about hiring right now. This is a time where so many people are collecting government subsidies or funding or whatever. This is an amazing time to be offering internships, huge. So if you're sitting there and you've got think about it, all these students are receiving funding. All these people are getting paid to not work because they can't, so the funding's there, but they want to. I'm reading it all over line. So I was thinking about it a couple of weeks ago. I started talking to the teams that we coach, and I said, guys, why are you not offering intern? If I was looking to be an intern, can you imagine the rock star talent you would find on your team, Sarah, for that entry-level admin position of somebody who, let's say, is making some kind of wage from the government, come in, and they can do an internship for 90 days with your team, learn the ropes, blah, blah, blah. And that internship could lead to the future position. That's brilliant, right?
Love it. Yep. Hook me up.
Right. Yeah. So don't say you don't get anything, people, on these calls, because that was a brilliant idea.
That was a golden chip right there.
There's the golden chip. You know what, Sarah? We'll read about it on Facebook. Somebody will post it in less than a few hours. Hey, I got a great. It'll be great. I came up with the best idea this morning. I don't know where it came from. But anyway, internships, guys. Best time ever. We just posted a bunch of internships. The applications that we got are freaking mind-blowing. And I love it because we are hiring for all those positions, but this is a time where, like I said, I'd rather you take advantage of, as they say, never waste a good recession. So you know what? If the government's paying for people to get funding and stuff like that, I'm going to do my part and create a mentorship program or an internship program that's absolutely brilliant, and that's what we've worked on, and that's what we're doing. So that's really, really, really important to us. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Everybody should do that. That's where I'm going. So are you seeing prices go up?
Someone on my team is writing that down right now, telling Jody, we need to post it in here.
No, Jody, the first thing Jody says is, shit, the two of them are on the phone for an hour. This is not going to be a good Monday. That's what she's like, she's going to get off the call. No. Okay, so I'd like to know, you mentioned something that I thought was really interesting. You said mom and CEO. Okay, so you're a mom of 3, and you're a top CEO, highly respectable. How do you do it? This has been 9 weeks of a very different lifestyle to you. Have you learned to manage it differently? Is there anything that you can share with the moms and the CEOs on this call?
Yeah, I mean,
the dads. Let's not forget the dads too.
Being a parent, right? I think as agents, we have a natural ability to read people's emotions and juggle situations and, play sweet or Switzerland with regards to calming a scenario down. So I know in my household, when I'm in the house, everything runs tickety-boo because it's like you're a central spoke and everyone's running off of it. COVID is definitely taught me that I don't get to waste any time on my work time. So if I know my kids are all on a device or in a Google Classroom for 2 hours, that I have to produce in those 2 hours, because when they get off their device, the next question is, Mom, what's for lunch? Mom, what are we doing? So it forces you to really schedule, which was something I've always sucked at in business, believe it or not.
I'm laughing. Yep. Okay.
But this is true. Know that about me. And so this has forced me to schedule really tightly. And I mean, I've always scheduled decently, knowing, okay, I've got to make this for my kids, I've got to make this for my kids, but there's no excuse now. So it's put my day into really great chunks. And my kids know when my office door is closed, they can't bug me. But when I come outside the office, yeah, you can poke at me all you want. So it's just a management cycle of knowing when you're with your kids, and my kids know this really well, I'm only with them. I'm not talking to them while I'm looking at my phone. I do put my phone down and I talk to my kids. But when I'm in my office, I'm not talking to them. They know that.
And they live to tell? Really?
They live to tell. They live to tell.
Your kids
broken yet.
You're like,
and I think they've learned more about business than, they would have ever possibly learned at school, because they've had to do real life work. Like, I make them do work.
I saw the cutest, one of my coaching clients did the cutest thing is they took a child, it's super cute, and they got the kid to dress up, their kid to dress up in a little suit, and and do the market updates. And it was adorable. Like, honestly, I was like, the kid was like so adorable. And he was just like, I just want to, tell you that the market is really good. And you could tell. And I was like, it was so cute. And I was like, Jones thought, I'm like, make your kids part of your work. I thought it was really super cute. Okay, personal question. And this is a really interesting one. Yeah, go ahead.
Our clients want to know the personal side of our lives, right? Like, if I post something personal, it gets way more hits than if I post something Remaxy. So at the end of the day, people want to know how you're working at home with kids, because they're all doing it too.
Everybody's doing it. And the thing is, guys, is we're all adjusting to it. So it's not something that, there's no judgment behind it. It's like, people are doing the best that they can. So, I mean, you know what? Get your kids involved. Have a little bit of fun. The only thing that everybody knows that I hate seeing is I hate seeing people baking bread every day. I don't mind every now and then, but every damn day if you're baking another recipe, like, remember, people are looking. You're your brand. So how you want to be seen, again, remember, consumers are bombarded with a million things online right now, so we really have to pay attention to what people are seeing and making sure that they know that they go to you for the resources. So here's a question that came in by a landslide. So there is, it's been 10 weeks. We're in week 10. Is there ever been a time in the last 9 to 10 weeks where you've literally just thrown up your hands and said, F it? Like, you know what, I am just so frustrated or so tired of dragging people along or not knowing what's going to happen, and if there was a time like that, how did you get through it?
I think any leader that says they don't have a time like that is probably lying. Because as a leader, you're dealing with people's emotional stresses at a high level, right? I was coaching another business owner yesterday who was really nervous about a call today because she knew that the call was going to be intense and the person was going to unload on her. And I said, sometimes when people need to unload like that, you've got to be thankful that you're the person taking that call, because they're calling to unload on you because they're looking at you to be the solution maker. Mm-hmm. So I have to remind myself of that all the time. I think, some Monday mornings are always insane. Well, I've already had probably 18 of those calls. Like, oh my God, Sarah. Oh my, like the tragedy level for other people. And, people's stress levels are so high right now. You got to tread lightly. But I know that when my anxiety gets high and I go, oh Christ, just forget it. When I'm getting all those calls or, handling all those calls, I'm reminded that that's what I'm here for. These people are calling me going, Sarah, I'm really calling you because I don't know what to do. Help me fix it. right? So yeah, there's definitely, I mean, there's some days in real estate where you go like, 10 days in a row where like, you're like, screw it, done. I'm going to work for Krista Rimbiata. That's it. I'm done. Like.
I just want to know what it's like to breathe. Well, I had that moment last week. I was like, I said it to my Monday clients. I said, guys, like I've been working nonstop, 18-hour days for 9 weeks. I'm like, I need just a day. Like I just need 24 hours to just literally zone it. And I was like, man, it's like you just got to be okay with sharing with people. And again, it's like, like you said, every good leader has to have that moment where you have to be vulnerable and you have to be honest with people, and you got to be like, hey, you know what, this is a bad day, or this is a bad week, or this is a bad moment. And I think that that's one of the most impressive things, and it's overlooked as leaders, is everybody thinks leaders have to be super, super strong 24/7. And you don't have to be, because if you're always strong, then there is no vulnerability. There's nothing behind you that says, "Hey, I'm going through it too. I'm having a really tough week, so here's where I am." You don't always have to be sunshine and rainbows coming out and like a unicorn farting. Like it just doesn't even make sense. You've just got to be a really honest person and be like, "Hey, it's better to learn," and the authenticity behind a leader who actually says, "Man, this was a tough go," or "This was a tough week." I mean, it's the stuff you have to hear. Sarah, question for you. Are you doing anything to prepare? So what we're seeing that's going to happen in the fall, we're hearing from some very different things. Are you doing anything now? Advice to the agents on this call and the people and the business owners on this call. Is there anything that you're doing now to prepare yourself for the possibility that we could be going for round 2 in the fall?
This one is challenging, absolutely. Like, how do we get ready for our second wave of COVID? Are people going to react with such, strong emotional connection to it? Are they going to have the same fear factor? I don't think so, based on the general public that I speak to. I think people are sort of coining themselves into the term of, we're going to live with it or live through it, right? Like get on with living safely. So I don't think, even if we hit the same, scare factor in the fall, are we going to see the general public's reaction match that of March? So right out of the gate, that's going to make it somewhat easier for real estate agents, because we're not dealing with the fact that people won't even let you stand on their front porch. I think people will, as long as you're, taking the correct precautions, that they're going to allow you to move forward. I think economically in the fall, and I don't want to get into this too deep, it could be interesting to see if some people are panicked just about their future and start thinking about selling their biggest asset. I do think that'll fall in a price point under the $1 million range. And I know marketing wise, what I'm doing to prepare for that group that might really need assistance, right? Like if they were one of the 78 employees let go by some tech firm, what are we doing to help them financially find stability again? And we can do that, fortunately in Burlington, Oakville, because their homes are going to provide that support for them. So, I have a lot of investors that are looking for amazing rental opportunities because they feel their rentals are going to go through the roof. And then we're just remarketing, getting ready to sort of aid anyone who's going to need to sell come September, when the government funding isn't, the waterfall of free money anymore, and the jobs aren't all there anymore. And I hate to say anything negative like that, but
oh my God, I totally agree with her. Okay, so here's the final thoughts, and this is a question I haven't prepped you for at all. So good luck. But anyway, yeah, you're like, hang on, do I get a lifeline? You do not get a lifeline. All right, so here's the thing. Those agents, is the final thoughts. So the agents who are on this call, or the business owners who are on this call, and they're like, look, my plan of action was to hide for 9 weeks because that's just what I was going to do. And I'm getting, by the way, guys, I'm getting 20 to 30 calls per week from realtors saying, and business owners, but mostly realtors who are going, I was scared and I went into 9 weeks of panic. I did F all. And now I'm literally ground zero. So my question to you is, Sarah, is that what would you give them, whether it's right or wrong, what advice would you give that agent who is like, look, I didn't do what the rest of you did. It's obvious I didn't. I spent my 9 weeks in a hole. How do I get out of this? What would you suggest they do?
If they're already a licensed agent and have a database, they're not at ground zero. They're not. They just need to get get on the phone, talk to their people, talk to their neighbors, and show them that they aren't turtled anymore. I mean, if someone turtled for 9 weeks, that's fine. Fear is a strong emotion to overcome, and not knowing what the next day holds really does paralyze people. But you're not at ground zero. Your spring market is right in front of you. You can catch the wave still, right? Like, there's enough agent momentum from leaders right now pushing things forward that it's easy to go, like, if you lived in my neighborhood, you could go, hey, wow, 6 detached were listed last week and 4 sold in a day. Like, that's information as an agent you can share. It doesn't matter if it's your creation or not. It's the real stat to your neighborhood. Share it with your database, right? And get real with your database. Hey, how did you recover from the 9 weeks? How did your business recover? We're just trying to get a feel for what the public's take is on our recovery in the province for COVID. I'd have those real conversations. Like, I'm not calling people going, hey, you want to list your house? I'm saying, hey, I know you guys started up a second tier to your business 6 months ago. Did you keep that open? Did you keep all those staff on board? How did COVID affect it? Here's how it affected my business. If you're a business owner, you can have a business-to-business conversation, and that saves you having to have a conversation 100 times with all their employees. You've talked to the top person. They're going to just say your name to the 100 people below them. So pick your good database people, call them, have a real life conversation. They're going to love to hear how you recovered, and you're going to love to hear how they recovered, and then help each other.
Totally agree. And guys, this is not rocket science. So what Sarah's saying is 100% true. Get your calls. And if 25 a day isn't enough, do 30. Like, if you're 9 weeks of doing nothing, understand that the public wants positive things. The markets are moving. Very rare the markets aren't moving. Very rare. I've only seen it in very small pockets across Canada, and it's very, very specifically isolated to very specific areas. So it's like Sarah said, get out there, re-engage with your database, call the small business owners. The moral of the story is like she said, you have a database and you have offices. Okay, so if you're looking at your brokerage, how many exclusive listings are there? You just heard Sarah talk about 25 listings coming on the market. If you're not reaching out, I would be reaching out to the Sarahs of the world. I'd be like, hey, what can I do to help? I'm trying to re-engage my business. How many listings do you have coming on the market? Can I have one to advertise? Is there anything? Like, this is a time where we're seeing inner brokerages and inner realtors really helping each other, and I don't think that anybody would shun you down. And I think, honestly, if you want to be part of great teams like Sarah's, that's also something to do, is be like, show your motivation and be like, hey, I've always wanted to, there's people on this call who are like, I want to join Sarah's team. Great. If you want to join Sarah's team, pick up the phone, ask her how you can help. Be like, how can I help you? Is there something I can do? Can I advertise one of your listings for you? Like, reach out and be like, show that you actually want to be active, because the game is not over. Just remember what we said at the beginning. If you want to be part of the top group of rainmakers, this is your moment to look at all the adversity you have going around you and make a decision on how you want to show up, right? It's going to take a lot of work, right, Sarah?
That's it.
Not easy.
You just nailed it, though. If you heard nothing else, how can I help you? Like, if someone called and asked me that, I'd be like, yes, because that's all the call that I make to everybody else. But no one ever makes that call to me.
Exactly. And by the way, no one makes it on my side either. When we're at the top of our games, people automatically always think that we have everything, we don't need anything, we don't need any help. Listen, I don't know about anybody else, but I know Sarah for sure, including myself, we're looking for freaking talent. So, like, talent shows up, and talent picks up the phone, and talent says, hey, if you want to be and you want to build a business like Sarah's, then guess what? Pick up a phone. You know what? Start the relationship, because now more than ever is when we've got our filter in going, where's the talent? Let's see who rises to the top, because we know it's not easy. So, Sarah, I just want to say thank you. Like, this was awesome. I'm already getting messages across my phone going, she's amazing. She's awesome. She's awesome. Where can they find you? What's your website?
Teamlogue.ca.
Teamlogue.ca, because we're in Canada.
.ca.
So, guys, like everything, Sarah's given us an hour of her time, and if you heard at the beginning of the call, she normally doesn't like calls that are over 2 minutes. So thank you for giving us 60 of your time. I really appreciate that. Sarah, we're going to upload this to our Facebook website. We're going to share it with you and your team to make sure you guys have a copy, too. We're going to do some cool shit with it. So I just want to say thank you again. You are a female badass leader in real estate, and I just love what you shared with us today. And you're going to inspire so many people. So thank you for everything you're doing. And RE/MAX Escarpment, luckiest office in the world to have you. Got it?
Great office. Thank you. Take care.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye, Sarah. Bye, everyone.
Bye, babe.